Folks, welcome to Movie News Monday, where every single Monday live on Twitch, we talk about everything in the world of entertainment. We talk about movies, television, MCU, DCUs, all the U's. You know what it is. So if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button so that you can come back and know what's going on in the world of Hollywood. And if you're watching live, say hi to YouTube as we break into our first story of the day. We had a bummer Movie News Monday last week. We had a lot of sad news, so I'm not gonna have too many sad news, but we got to get this out of the way and talk about it. So we have some layoffs on the horizon in the world of entertainment, and unfortunately, it's just kind of where we're at right now. We have a lot of shifting things in the market. We have a lot of consolidation going on. We have this weird middle ground where we're hanging out in, that streaming is where all the money is, but there's not actually money in streaming. The money's in cable, and like movie theaters is where the money's is, but nobody's going to movie theaters. It's a weird time. It's a weird time in Hollywood, and unfortunately we're seeing that reflected in a lot of areas. So Sony Pictures announced this week that they are going to be doing some layoffs and expected to lay off or fire hundreds of people to refocus on strategic priorities. This will happen across its film studios, its TV studios, and its corporate offices. In a memo to staff, the CEO said, "The demonstrated value of our independent television and film studios offers us the flexibility to move with the market, to partner broadly, match projects with the right platform, and support our creative partners in bringing great stories to life." Now, this is what I think is also really interesting about Sony. Sony is the only major player in Hollywood that does not have their own streaming service. They have instead opted to specifically operate in the creating of content and then selling it out to the highest bidder. So you'll see things like, the Spider-Man movies. They do make and distribute those independently, but technically they're kind of co-producing that with Marvel Studios, essentially Disney. Movies like K-pop Demon Hunters, those animated movies, they are creating them but selling them to Netflix and saying, hey, go find a life there. There's plenty of other examples like that. The Studios may be my last example to bring up here. The Studios, the television show that just swept at the Emmys and the Globes, they produce that over at Sony Pictures and then sell it to Apple TV for distribution. So rather than having to focus the energy on marketing and development and the technology behind streamers, they'd rather stay focused on the actual production. That being said, not being involved in the streaming game directly does not protect them. They added, by aligning our structure and resources more closely with our strategic priorities, we will move forward with greater clarity and momentum and be better equipped for innovation and resilience, which is kind of just corporate speak for, we got to cut some staff, we're paying too much money. Which is really sad. So much love goes out to folks at Sony Pictures, wishing y'all the best, either in maintaining your career or finding your next one. Is not having your own service just to take out all the high risk, high reward? Essentially, yes. It is so expensive to run a streaming service, and Sony is saving itself a massive headache by not having to really have that considered or play into anything at all that they're doing with their markets. They don't have to leverage streaming data. They don't have to make decisions based off of what's getting the most watched. They don't have to worry about royalties and distribution and anything like that, as well as they don't have to accommodate that technology and anything like that. Streaming is expensive. Streaming is an expensive structure to have and hold, and paying licensing and rolling out things like that. You think about, I go back and think about when Disney Plus first launched, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait to watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Oh, they don't have them here because they don't own the streaming licenses for their own movies, even though they made them, right? Like little things like that. So even though Sony is technically playing it safe, like Chad is saying here, they are not protected from the horrible fate that is layoffs. And they are not alone. Even smaller studios who are not big, top 4 studios, are feeling the burn of the current state in Hollywood. J.J. Abrams, his company Bad Robot, just announced that they are going to be downsizing. Bad Robots is slimming down their operations and relocating from LA to New York. Bad Robot Productions is responsible for things like the Star Trek movies, the Star Wars sequels, as well as Lost, Alias, the Cloverfield movies, so many things over the years. But, you know, they've had a rough few years since the pandemic. They've had a couple different projects that they tried to put up over the past few years. And of some of the examples listed in this article, only one TV show that they had developed since the pandemic made it to air, and it only aired for one season. The animated series that they produced, Batman Caped Crusader, HBO sold it to Amazon, and that only existed for a single season. And then their film output hasn't been so well. They actually haven't released a major movie since the Star Wars sequels that J.J. Abrams was tied to, of course, as a director. They have dabbled in some low-cost movies and documentaries, but they haven't really made it big in a while. And as this article goes to point out, we're sort of in this weird middle ground here where we don't really have the star power producer anymore, like we used to with J.J. Abrams and things of that nature. You used to see studios like a Sony Pictures or a 20th Century sign these massive first look deals with executive producers and their mini, studios in order to develop all different types of content. We're not seeing that nearly to the same level as we used to. Nowadays, you really only see it with, as this article points out, people like Ryan Murphy, Shonda Rhimes, and Dick Wolf, but even those are outdated. Ryan Murphy's deal with Netflix and Shonda Rhimes' deal with Netflix, that took a long time to develop. It took a long time to get to where it is today. Of course, Shonda Rhimes' example being Bridgerton, that took many, many years of development before it developed anything that actually made a profit for Netflix. And these massive, multi-million dollar years are not easy to put out. So nowadays you're seeing less and less massive deals like this, and instead the industry is shifting a little bit more to project by project models, which of course, with that being the case, if you're a big producer, of course you're taking a lot of that money yourself, but you're also putting that money into your studio, into your production company. And if the model is switching to be project-based as opposed to overall deal-based, it's going to be harder to maintain that same level of staff. You might not be able to keep all the same people on your team at all times, especially if you're not developing as much content. So, last but not least, top dog over here, Disney, is also planning layoffs. Close to 1,000 jobs are on the deck to be eliminated over at Disney across of all of their divisions. That's however, mostly going to be focused on the marketing department. Disney is trying to adjust with the smaller profits that it's been earning in streaming compared with what it used to make with linear television. We talked about this on stream a couple weeks ago, where the real money from these streaming services and from this traditional cable isn't in the cable package and isn't in the subscription, it's in the advertising. The reason that cable made money is because people would put their ads in the middle of all these cable, cable shows and broadcasts. The reason that streaming can start to make a little bit more money is because they're generating data on you, on the consumers. They're understanding your interests and your profile, and they can sell ad space based on those things. So because that model is very different than the traditional model of overall broadcast, syndicated marketing, that changes the money, that changes how much it goes, especially because you have a fair amount of users that, whether they are paying for the ad-free version of your service or using some form of an ad blocker, you are not generating the same level of revenue with them as you would with other people. So all of that to be said, a lot of layoffs are expected in Disney to kind of consolidate the business in their marketing departments. Layoffs are expected, of course, when Paramount and Warner come together whenever, if ever, that ends up happening. But for Disney specifically, as we talked about on Movie News Monday a couple weeks ago, there was a restructuring with all of their senior leadership across all the different areas within Disney, and Asada Yaz has become the single chief marketing officer for all of Disney. That includes the broadcasting arm, the studio arm, but it also includes the experiences like the theme parks and the sports section like ESPN. So all of Disney marketing now exists under one umbrella, which means that all of those other umbrellas are being shut, I guess is how we can say it. There's going to be some rain on those parades. There's also going to be the consolidation of Disney Plus and Hulu. As we know, Disney announced that it is sunsetting the Hulu app because, as we mentioned earlier, it is very expensive to keep a streaming service up and running. Just think about, I don't know, do y'all have a Google Drive or a Dropbox or something? Just think about hosting like 15 videos on that, and then you get the alert of you're almost out of space. Imagine an entire content library, right? Imagine Hulu, which is almost all television shows. Every single episode of every single season of every single show you could ever watch. That shit's expensive. Now, you're not just holding that, you're also streaming that, live broadcasting that to thousands, millions of different homes at the same time. That is expensive technology to run. That is expensive server space to manage, as well as, the user interface and everything else that comes along with it. Managing the desktop app, the mobile app, the website, the TV app, which is, also the Fire TV, the Google Chromecast, the Roku TV, the LG, the Samsung. There's so much that comes with keeping a streaming service up and running, which is why when Paramount won its bid for Warner Bros., one of the first things they said is, we will be combining HBO Max and Paramount Plus into a single streaming service experience, because no way in hell are we going to pay for two of those. So where do we go from here, folks? Unfortunately, we're just going to have to keep an eye out and hope for the best. Again, to everyone out there who might experience job loss or, know anyone who's going through it, I'm sending you all the best. It's a rough industry out here. It's a rough world out there. And, just, I don't know, man, like focus on those transferable skills. I don't know what to say. It's really sad. It's really sad that we'll see a lot of these big companies continue to do well and continue to earn profits, yet they continue to downsize and they continue to talk about things like generative AI and how we can better benefit the filmmakers and the creators, yet they're also touting different ways to cut people and save money and, parading it around like it's a good thing, like what the Sony team was doing. We're just refocusing our priorities. So we will see. I will hope for the best. To our next story. Well, although it is disappointing to see the executives at Hollywood not doing the best, there is a little bit of hope on the horizon. Cinema United, the big group that encompasses all of the theatrical owners in the business, has set its first Filmmaker Leadership Council, with Jerry Bruckheimer and Emma Thomas leading the Filmmakers Council. So the council will now speak and take a look at how the studios are treating the movie theaters. This is actually great news. So for those of you who don't know, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, it's okay. Emma Thomas is Christopher Nolan's producing partner. So Christopher Nolan, every movie he's ever done, Emma Thomas has been the person on the other side making sure that those films get done. And then Jerry Bruckheimer is, of course, legendary producer behind franchises like the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Bad Boys franchise, Top Gun, and so many more incredible classics. Literally, these two faces, you may not immediately recognize them. The names might give you deja vu, but you know them and you know their work, and they are incredible people to represent filmmakers on behalf of Cinema United. So Cinema United announced this new filmmaker leadership council. It's also going to feature directors Brad Bird, Ryan Coogler, Jason Reitman, and Celine Song, as well as executive director Greg Foster. This is so cool. It's such a broad range of talent as well. Brad Bird, of course, has plenty of expertise with animated movies. Ryan Coogler is Ryan Coogler, who has experience with IP filmmaking as well as original filmmaking. Jason Reitman speaks to the world of comedy, and Celine Song speaks to the world of like small independent romance, right? So we have so many different branches of and genres of filmmaking represented here. Cinema United president Michael O'Leary said, "Our industry is strongest when it works together to promote the singular experience of seeing a movie on the big screen. The importance of having Jerry and Emma at the helm of this initiative at such a critical time for our industry cannot be overstated. The insight, leadership, passion, and impact from the entire Leadership Council is unparalleled as we are facing consolidation, sustainable windows, the promotion marketing of the cinematic experience, and highlighting innovation and technology." And look, that's exactly what it comes down to right now. We are at a weird impasse as far as the theatrical experience. If it wasn't for specific studios like Universal making commitments to stay in movie theaters longer, so many of these different different studios who especially own their own streaming services are looking to ways to shorten that window and get people out from seeing movies and into paying a subscription service. You think about Netflix, who had committed to maybe doing a 17-day theatrical window, which 17 days is nothing, man. You blink it, that goes by, right? If you don't see it on the first weekend, you might not see a movie ever. That being said, Jerry Bruckheimer said, "We are at a defining point in the future of this industry." And Emma Thomas said, "Profound cultural value in gathering together with a group of strangers and connecting while experiencing something special on the big screen. Cinemas of all sizes around the world can continue to present our stories in the best possible settings." So it's awesome to see that we have such well-regarded and really industry expert filmmakers taking a stand and helping support the Cinema United group. On top of the fact that Cinema United represents business owners, small business owners and large business owners when it comes to movie theaters. Yes, you can think about AMC and Regal and all of those, but also think about your mom and pop shops and your small local theaters, or the theaters that service, rural areas where they're the only movie theater for, dozens, if not hundreds of miles around, right? Like there's so many different ways that movie theaters and that movie viewing experience can be presented to people, and to have filmmakers who are respected in their industry help lead conversations with studios and help lead initiatives and help represent them. That's incredible and that's awesome. And look, I think a lot about what benefits the movie theater experience really has, and on top of just that collective joy that you get to have with people, whether it be a completely full theater for an Avengers movie where you're screaming and cheering at all the moments that you're supposed to scream and cheer at, or, one of my favorite experiences of watching a small independent movie with two other people in the theater, but then before you know it, all of you are yelling and cackling at the movie as if you're sitting at home on the couch, but these are complete strangers that you will never see again. That cultural experience can be so meaningful, and I really, I cannot overstate how much the movie going experience just really does change a film. I will always reference a classic movie that I will wholeheartedly admit I at first didn't understand, The Breakfast Club. The first time I saw The Breakfast Club was on my high school girlfriend's laptop sitting on the floor of her bedroom. And it was a nice movie, and it was a good movie, and I enjoyed it. And I remember thinking, wow, I get why this is a big deal. But I didn't love it until years later, when I would go off to film school. There was an anniversary screening at a movie theater, and I saw it, in a room full of, college students who had just finished experiencing high school, which is what Breakfast Club is about. And it was a completely packed house and everybody was there and people were laughing out loud at the jokes. And like you could hear the sniffles during the sad moments. And there was just something so much more beautiful and so much more impactful about being able to experience that in a room full of people that really helps cement to me that going to the movie theater is the best way to experience a movie, regardless of what type of movie it is, whether it be a Ryan Coogler epic IP movie or a Celine Song intimate, small, thoughtful love story, whatever it may be. And frankly, it seems that people are agreeing with the fact that the movie theater is the best place to be. So far this spring, 2026 is proving to be a potential comeback of the movie theater going experience. We are right now seeing some of the best numbers we've seen in a while, following the pandemic shutdowns and then the writers' strikes and actors' strikes sort of putting everything on a big screeching halt. We saw really stagnant film sales and ticket sales specifically in 2025, hovering around the $9 billion, where pre-COVID we were going at around the $11 billion rate. So we had a sharp decline and we have not been able to get back since. The CEO of AMC Theaters had mentioned that 2025 was going to be a year to brag about because we had Zootopia and we had 3 Marvel movies and an Avatar movie, but of course it ended up not being the big comeback that we were hoping for. He said we thought we were going to see some big growth, so when that didn't happen, we were very surprised. That being said, in 2026, we are seeing an increase in wide releases going from 91 up to 113. And in the first quarter alone, we are up 23% in ticket sales. Films like Wuthering Heights, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, and even Scream 7 have really made an impact for that. And we're going to see hopefully more and more continue to go with films like The Odyssey coming out, films like Spider-Man Brand New Day, Avengers Doomsday, Dune Part 3. We have so many other big hitters on the horizon, as well as some, really promising trackable ones, things like the Hunger Games movie that we were just watching the trailer for, other films like that. We have a lot of promise leading into the rest of the year. Audiences are voting with their wallets. And what we've noticed, the movie-going audience is shifting younger, and it does seem like Gen Z really does enjoy going to the movie theaters. And hey, good on you, Gen Z. Good on you going out and seeing a movie again. There was a really interesting quote that came out of this article, too, about how some folks see streaming services as a utility at this point where, I'm paying this monthly fee. I might as well watch my movies here where I can. Where going to the theater is seen a little bit more like a luxury experience. That being said, it seems more and more that it might be a luxury that folks are wanting to see. Surprised at the movies that have come out so far, what people are going to the movies for. There's been some promising hits so far. Scream 7, though I disagree with a lot of the philosophy around it, it is a massive franchise and a massive horror franchise. We've seen a big uptick in horror movies in general over the past few years. That's a genre that's really exploded, and this is like, I don't know, it's like an Avengers movie level event in that category, right? Like it's your meat and potatoes. Oh, it's a Scream movie, right? So you know what you're gonna get, and it's maybe a way to celebrate a franchise and celebrate a genre. Now, granted, I've heard very mixed things about that movie, but then again, thinking about Wuthering Heights, like that was a romance movie that's also a really popular novel. Really popular and well-regarded filmmaker with actors that are really hot right now. And, not without its controversy, but that also kind of played into the effect. Even movies like Yumi and Tuscany, right? A movie that was maybe originally tracking for $4 to $5 million went all the way up to $9 million based on some of the controversy that was going on around it, right? So there's all these little interesting tidbits that are making movies that are releasing on this first part of the year significantly more successful than maybe we were thinking that they would be. Q1 is a very interesting time for the movie theater business specifically. It wasn't really until Deadpool came out back in 2015, 2016, that we really saw the potential of February as like a big release month. Traditionally speaking, January was where you'd get maybe wider releases from some late in the game Oscar movies, and then just maybe some of your stinkers would come out in January. Now we see a couple good ones get stuck in there. But February kind of became an early blockbuster, Valentine's Day scene where folks were slotting in movies there. Marvel's released movies outside of Deadpool. Captain America came out in February. There's been a lot of releases then. And then March, that spring break audience, that's a huge hit that you're going to get a huge bump. And that's what the Super Mario Brothers movie just got recently. So we have seen fair amount of success so far. We will see how it continues to go, but all signs are pointing to movie theaters are back. We have to talk about now this open letter that just went out opposing the Paramount-Warner Bros. Merger. A group of, specifically, you can count here, 1,042 different filmmakers have signed an open letter regarding the merger that's being proposed here. And I'm just going to read some of the highlights here and we can get into some of the specifics. But we write to express our unequivocal opposition to the proposed Paramount-Warner Bros. Discovery merger. The result will be fewer opportunities for creators, fewer jobs across the production ecosystem, higher costs, and less choice for audiences in the US and around the world. Alarmingly, this merger would reduce the number of major studios to just 4. Increasingly, a small number of powerful entities determine what gets made and on what terms. Media consolidation has accelerated the disappearance of the mid-budget film, the erosion of independent distribution, the elimination of meaningful profit participation. We are deeply concerned by indications of support for this merger that prioritize the interest of a small group of powerful stakeholders over the broader public good. California Attorney General Rob Bonta and his colleagues in other states are reportedly scrutinizing this merger and considering legal action to block it. We are grateful for their leadership and stand ready to support all efforts. Some of the featured signatures here include people like Adam McKay, Alan Cumming, Ben Stiller, Boots Riley, all the way to folks like J.J. Abrams, Kathy Griffin, Kristen Stewart, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Noah Wiley, Yorgos Lanthimos, and many, many more. Let's pick a random one here. And I clicked on J.J. Abrams. Okay, hold on. And David Channel Baker, manager. So, folks, ultimately, I think this is just everyone's saying what everyone's already saying, right? We are at a very, very weird and twisted time in this entertainment industry, coming off of the COVID pandemic, coming off of the union strikes. We are at this weird impasse where it feels like Hollywood executives are scared and Hollywood executives are trying to figure out how they can maintain positions of powers for themselves, as opposed to maybe just giving people the opportunity to create and create freely. 4 remaining major studios in the US is crazy to think about in a country that supposedly prides itself in the promise of capitalism and fighting against monopoly and things of that nature. Like it's wild. It's wild to me. And look, on the stream, I have been very strong proponent of not wanting anybody to buy Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers just won Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year. Warner Brothers just had the most independently successful box office over this past year. They are the last remaining bastion of the old 4 studios of Hollywood back at 100 years ago. The fact that 100 years ago we had 4 major studios, but that's just because it was a brand new industry. And now 100 years later, we're about to go down to just 4 again, is crazy. I worry about jobs. I worry about opportunities. You know, I'm somebody who went to film school. I grew up wanting to make movies, and I wanted to make that dream a reality. And I can't imagine coming out of film school now going, where the hell am I going to go? What the heck am I supposed to do? You know, if you get in with one company, or if you don't get in with one company or one project, like, where else are you going to go? Sorry, your script didn't get picked up by this studio or this manager. Well, good luck getting it made anywhere else, because it's only 4 people who are buying movies right now. It is not a very encouraging time to get started, and it is meaningful, and there is impact in seeing, you know, well-established people like Damon Lindelof, like Bryan Cranston, like John Leguizamo and Marissa Tomei and Mark Ruffalo and all these people speaking on the experience of being established and being recognized in this industry, but knowing that, you know, there's gonna be problems for everybody, not just the people working in Hollywood, but the people who want to work in Hollywood and the people who enjoy Hollywood, the audiences. Paramount did respond to the letter. They said, as creators, we know firsthand that this is a moment when the industry has been facing significant disruption, and the need for strong, creative-first, and well-capitalized companies that can continue to invest in storytelling has never been greater. Oh, you're well-capitalized. These companies are well-capitalized, even though you're taking money from your CEO's father, and you're taking money from the Gulf states, from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from... okay, anyways. We can greenlight more projects, back bold ideas, support talent. Talent likes Max Landis, a known sexual offender. Talent like Brett Ratner, a confirmed sexual offender. And bring stories to audiences at a truly global scale. We have committed to a minimum of 30 high-quality feature films with full theatrical releases, and preserving iconic brands with independent creative leadership. Independent creative leadership for preserving iconic brands, which means putting people who your executives like in charge of all of your sub-brands. COVID, the entry of big tech, and changes in consumer behavior have caused the disruptions to our industry. So they point the finger and say, no. It's not executives. It's the pandemic, which we can't actually blame anyone for. The entry of big tech. Don't blame us. Blame all the people who made streaming services. And changes in consumer behavior. It's not our fault. It's actually your fault. Chat, it's your fault and it's my fault. We're the reason that Paramount has to buy Warner Brothers. What a joke. So I don't know, chat, what do you think? Do you think this moves the needle at all? Do you think this makes any sort of an impact? I don't know, folks. I'm not super optimistic on this front. I'm really not. But hey, you know who also likes to stick a middle finger out to the worst people in the industry? Issa Rae. And Issa Rae, let me just say, Issa Rae is consistently on it. And let me say props to Issa Rae and Hooray Media for getting the jump on what very well may be what's left in entertainment after all these corporate consolidations. Hooray Media sets the first microdrama series screen time in a TikTok deal. We talked about this recently on Movie News Monday, that TikTok had been making moves to start producing their own microdramas, their own verticals, as people are calling them. And it looks like we now know the first major partnership that's going to be bringing this together is through Issa Rae's Hooray Media. TikTok is building a new model for micro series, pairing creator-led storytelling with scaled distribution to reach audiences faster than ever. We're actively investing in the micro series space and excited to partner with innovators like Issa Rae to bring bold, story-driven content to life across TikTok and Pine Drama. Pine Drama is now going to be a TikTok-adjacent ad that is going to be specifically targeted to these sort of micro-series, vertical dramas, and not your traditional user-generated content like you would see across all of TikTok. On the partnership, Issa Rae says, "I've been really excited about the microdrama space for a while, and as a company, when I think about our survival and our relevance, I want people to feel like Hooray is part of their daily routines and part of their lives. It's a first-of-its-kind deal in a way, but it makes my films and microseries more accessible for us. We're doing it as minute soaps, and we're still working out the release format, but again, it's a way to put our stamp on the genre. This show will air exclusively on TikTok and Pine Drama. Screen time begins with a double-date movie night disrupted by a mysterious figure who hijacks a TV, forcing the couples to confess their secrets or risk exposure." What's the worst thing you've ever done? Zendaya is shaking right now watching her TikTok feed. This is awesome. We actually have a first look here at the first episode, which you can check it out now. This is exciting for a lot of reasons. It feels like TikTok is actually being very serious about investing in this space, and it's good to see a creator like, it's weird to call her a creator, but a creator like Issa Rae be involved in what very well might be the next thing as far as entertainment goes. Now look, I have been known to call it way too early. Friends out there, shout out to Evan. Shout out to my buddy Evan, who was there listening to me rant about this. I remember there was a time when Instagram launched IGTV, and I was like, this is it, man. This is the future. This is the next phase. And boy, egg all over my face with that one. That being said, I do feel really optimistic about Issa Rae being somebody who's getting involved in this space. Look, verticals are a little bit silly. Yes, some of them are very soap-esque, but they are also easy to produce and easy to produce at scale. And it's a place where people are getting work right now. I was just talking about where folks are going to get their first jobs coming out of film school, coming out of college. Like, a lot of them are getting work on these micro dramas and getting consistent work with them too. So, you know, don't look a gift job in the mouth. That being said, Issa Rae is also somebody who came up in the online space originally. She started creating on YouTube before, of course, getting picked up for her HBO deal, and then so much more from there. So if there's somebody who I want being the first champion for this first of its kind partnership, I'm very happy for it to be Issa Rae. Issa Rae has also gone on the record multiple times to say the type of stuff that needs to be said about the industry. Just recently, she talked about how when pitching series, we need to be smarter and adapt to the current identity crisis that's happening in Hollywood. In this particular case, talking about relevant to the conversation we had today about Yumi and Tuscany, is that DEI has kind of become a bad word in Hollywood. Even after so much progress, Rae says, we're kind of back to our limited representation. We're back where we started in a way, but wiser. And this is true. I was going to talk about this a while back on Movie News Monday, but a UCLA study did confirm that diversity has declined year over year. As far as the larger movies that are coming out, the industry reversed course for people of color after 2023 was the biggest historic jump in diverse representation. The following year dropped significantly. 80% of directors and co-directors and 91.5% of writers and co-writers were white. This was in the year 2024. Of course, the study for the year 2025 is still taking place, or maybe it isn't, because this was funded by a university and this is a study on DEI. So who knows? Maybe they didn't get the funding to make that study happen the next year. But this is true. If Issa Rae says DEI has changed meanings and become sort of a bad word, you have to be smarter about how you package and market. It's not a show about a black woman. It's a show about class. As icky as that might feel, it gets the show sold. And look, I tied these two things together because I do think that Issa Rae is somebody who really understands the shift in the industry and is somebody to keep an eye on as far as how we see really talented creators and creators who are tuned into not just the cultural picture, but the actual content picture of what people want to see as well. And let me just go back to February of last year where Issa Rae said it with her chest when nobody else really would, which is, I've never seen Hollywood this scared and clueless and at the mercy of Wall Street. I'm sorry, but there aren't a lot of smart executives anymore, and a lot of them have aged out and are holding on to their positions and refusing to let young blood get in. So all that to be said, if anyone is going to be kicking off what could and might not be the full next phase of entertainment, I'm happy to see it be Issa Rae. I don't know. Look, we have seen online media change so much in so many spaces. Who's to say that the vertical dramas couldn't be the next big thing? But I'm curious what y'all think. Do you watch verticals? I don't think I've ever really sat down and like intentionally watched one. I've seen reaction videos, I've seen the Danny Gonzalez's of the world and the Drew Goodens of the world react to some like obviously super cringy ones, but I've never actually like made a concerted effort to take in one. And maybe I'm missing out. Which one should I start with? What microdrama, what vertical do I need to be on? I want to be in. Well, hey, if it's not vertical dramas, I've said it time and time again that I think that video game movies are the future. They are the next superhero movie, and we now have our director set for the Metal Gear Solid movie that we have all been very impatiently waiting for. Zach Lipovsky and Adam B. Stein have been named as the directors for the upcoming Metal Gear Solid movie. Not just that, but these filmmakers have actually earned a first of its kind in a long time type of deal with Sony Pictures. Sony has snagged them up in a expansive first look deal, which will cover all of their new studios labels. Wonder Lab, as they're calling it, will develop films for the duo to direct and original projects that they will produce for other directors. The focus is in creating fun, commercial, character-driven, genre-bending films. If you're trying to remember why you might know these two, we actually talked about them on Movie News Monday a couple weeks back when report came out that there is a Venom animated movie in development. These are the pair of directors that are going to be directing the animated Venom movie. They, of course, just recently directed Final Destination Bloodlines, which was wildly successful. Again, horror movies that are having their big comeuppance right now. And then regarding the Metal Gear Solid of it all, as part of the deal, Sony's Columbia Pictures is going to be partnering with them on Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid. But father-son team Avi and Ari Arad are producing the feature. Now, if anyone out there just got a chill in their back of their neck, I know you know. Avi Arad is the famous producer who was instrumental into bringing Marvel into the big screen, especially the Spider-Man franchise. Now, look, Avi Arad has done a lot, and we wouldn't have modern day superhero movies without he and his son's involvement. That being said, Avi Arad is also very directly responsible for a lot of the things that ultimately led to Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Sam Raimi, Mark Webb, Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and all those folks being less than enthused with where they left off on their particular Spider-Man journey. So let's give someone the benefit of hindsight and maybe hope for some growth in their individual journeys as they come into now working in the Metal Gear Solid world. It's rough out there. There's some stories you can read. With projects across all the company's film labels, we are so happy to create a home for them here at Sony. As we mentioned, they're working on that Venom animated movie, as well as an original sci-fi epic called The Earthlings. Regarding Metal Gear Solid, the pair said, MGS was nothing short but groundbreaking cinematic experience that forever revolutionized video games. We are thrilled and honored to bring Hideo Kojima's iconic characters and unforgivable world to life. So congratulations to these filmmakers. It's incredible to see some up-and-coming talent really shake up an entire studio. And, you know, as we mentioned at the start of stream, Sony is someone out there who is interested in creating diverse, fun content that can be servicing multiple different areas of the world. So animated movies, original sci-fi movies, video game movies, IP movies, everything like that. Fun to see these two get the opportunity to do that. Who do we cast as Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid? There's been so many fan casts over the year. I wonder what we'll do. Who would you put in the role? I wouldn't even dream to figure it out. But it is Sony, so maybe it'll be Tom Holland. Chat, in case you didn't know, something very serious happened this weekend.
The Avatar has escaped!
The Avatar has escaped. That's right. There was a shock to everybody when this random person on Twitter, who hopefully their account still exists so I can show everything. Okay, good. They haven't been banned yet. Completely out of nowhere, this account tweets out, Nickelodeon accidentally emailed the entire Avatar Aang movie, along with tweeting out a clip and then adding their commentary. They made Toph straight, y'all. This before it was taken down by Paramount. And let me be clear, Paramount lawyers, I had no intention of showing any footage from the actual leak. I will advise you not to seek it out. This movie was originally set to be released in theaters, but of course we did learn a few months back that Paramount has rescinded their theatrical plans and instead will be releasing this exclusively on Paramount Plus. I still believe maybe the best way to take in this movie is through theaters, but in either case, give the filmmakers, give the animators, give the voice actors, the creators, everyone involved the respect, and don't watch the leaked copy, okay? Just wait for it to come out officially. That being said, this person I'm still dissing on Twitter did continue to post more clips. They posted that initial clip and then posted another one. I wasn't kidding about it being the whole movie. They later tweeted, if Paramount doesn't post a trailer within the next couple of days or something, I'll live stream the movie alongside with some Peggle Deluxe gameplay. Some insiders in the Avatar space, particularly the Avatarist, confirmed that the leak is 99% real. Both of the scenes are in the plot that I was sent a few months ago, and later did go on to confirm that for those of you who have seen the leaks, I have been told that it is not the final look of the movie. It seems as though the clips that were shared were not the full high-res version of the film. So what happened? How did this random Twitter user get the Avatar movie? Well, definitely was not intentional because Paramount started issuing DMCA takedowns of all the accounts that were sharing the clips. There have been multiple clips that have been leaked online. Allegedly, the entire film did hit 4chan, so it's very likely that the full movie is out there. That being said, some insiders are reporting that Nickelodeon didn't leak it, that there was a hack and somebody was being an ass about the whole thing. But more likely, or I guess potentially likely, someone pointed out that the movie gets sent out to distributors to make DVDs, and distributors are the ones who mess up. They had a marketing plan or something, but in either case, whatever their idea was for how this movie was going to get out, it didn't happen that way. And ultimately, this is not the first time this has happened, not particularly for Paramount and definitely not for Nickelodeon Studios. This is now the fourth time an animated movie from Paramount has leaked online. In case y'all are wondering, that is SpongeBob the movie, Sponge on the Run, Saving Bikini Bottoms, the Sandy Cheeks movie, Plankton the movie, and now Avatar Aang, the Last Airbender. What is it that they're doing over there at Paramount to keep their security on their projects? I have no idea. But folks, I will reiterate once again, if you can avoid the leaks, do your best to avoid the leaks. It is such a shame. This film was supposed to have full theatrical distribution. Then it was later pulled to be streaming exclusive. And now it has just fully leaked online. So the lack of respect that has been shown to this franchise and the animators and creators and storytellers behind this incredible world, which is like probably one of the most culturally significant American animated projects. Like, this is the United States anime, like the one that we have. And this is the respect that we're giving it. And this is the studio that's trying to buy Warner Brothers. We'll wait and see if Paramount and Avatar Studios has an official statement. But at this time, I will just urge you one more time, don't seek out the leak. Wait for the movie to come out. If they decide that based on this interest, based on the fact that, 15-second clip got 30 million views before it got taken down, perhaps maybe Paramount will consider a theatrical run. And if you watch the leaked version of this movie, the least you can do is buy a ticket to go see it in theaters. And that's my message to you all. But chat, that is gonna wrap it up for us today on Movie News Monday. If you are watching live, thank you so much for stopping by and being part of the conversation. If you're watching on YouTube, hey, stop on by live. You can tell us what you want us to chat about. Otherwise, on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will happily cover whatever it is you want me to chat about. It's just going to be a little bit slower, okay? Because you're not watching live. If you want to catch our content on short forms, you can follow on TikTok and Instagram. But otherwise, folks, thank you so much for stopping by Movie News Monday. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you at the movies. Bye.